Picture this. You're sitting in a crowded coffee shop, and someone across the room catches your eye for just a split second. In that single moment, you somehow know their entire emotional state. You see past their carefully constructed smile and instantly understand that they're carrying something heavy. You don't know how you know this. You just do. You can feel it, see it, sense it beneath everything. Now imagine if this wasn't a rare occurrence for you, but rather your baseline, your everyday reality. What if your mind was literally designed to perceive the invisible threads of human connection, emotion, and meaning that everyone else walks right past? This is the world of the INFJ. And what makes it even more remarkable isn't that they feel these things deeply. It's that their brains have evolved a completely different way of processing reality itself. A visual, intuitive system so sophisticated that it often borders on the uncanny. If you've ever wondered why certain people seem to possess an almost supernatural ability to see what others miss, to know what others can't explain, and to understand what others have completely overlooked, you're about to discover the science behind the magic. The hidden gift, understanding the INFJ visual mind. When we talk about intelligence and special abilities, we usually think about things like math skills or memory. We don't often discuss how some people's brains are uniquely designed to process the world through imagery, symbols, and patterns in ways that others simply cannot access. INFJs, one of the rarest personality types, possess exactly this kind of capability. Their minds work like advanced cameras, constantly capturing details, processing information beneath the surface, and creating rich mental pictures of everything around them. The truth is, INFJs don't just see with their eyes. They see with their minds. They perceive layers of meaning and connection that remain invisible to most people walking through the same space. This isn't about being smarter in a traditional sense. It's about having a different kind of smartness. One that's deeply rooted in how their intuition operates and how their visual processing system connects to their emotional and psychological awareness. Beneath the surface, why INFJs see what others cannot perceive. To truly understand why INFJs have such a powerful visual capability, we need to grasp what intuition actually means for these individuals. Intuition isn't just a feeling or a hunch. For INFJs, intuition is a complex data processing system that works below their conscious awareness. It's like having a sophisticated computer running in the background, analyzing patterns, connecting dots, and creating a coherent picture from scattered information. When an INFJ walks into a room or meets someone new, their intuitive system immediately begins working. It picks up on body language, tone of voice, energy shifts, and countless micro-expressions. But here's where it gets interesting. All of this information gets translated into visual imagery in their mind. They don't just hear someone's words. They visualize the emotion behind those words. They don't just see someone's posture. They create a mental picture of what that posture reveals about the person's state of mind. This connection between intuition and visual processing creates something remarkable. INFJs essentially develop an internal visualization system that works alongside their intuitive function. This system acts like a visual translator, converting abstract feelings and patterns into concrete mental images that their minds can work with more easily. It's one of the reasons why INFJs often say they just know something. They visually processed information without realizing they were doing it. The invisible blueprint, how the INFJ brain constructs reality differently. The way INFJs process visual information is fundamentally different from how many other personality types work. Their primary function is introverted intuition, often called NI. This function is responsible for seeing patterns, understanding underlying meanings, and grasping how different pieces fit together into a bigger picture. When combined with their secondary function, extrovert feeling, something special happens in terms of visual and emotional intelligence. INFJs naturally create mental models of situations, people, and systems. These aren't simple, flat images. They're dynamic, multi-layered frameworks that include possibilities, connections, and potential outcomes. When an INFJ is thinking about a problem or trying to understand someone, they're simultaneously building and refining these visual models in their mind. They might not be consciously aware of this process, but it's happening constantly. This visual architecture also means that INFJs often think in metaphors, symbols, and imagery rather than in linear, step-by-step logic. While some people might describe a relationship problem using a numbered list of issues, an INFJ might see the entire dynamic as a complex visual system with certain elements pulling away and others drawing closer. This visual thinking style gives them a unique advantage in understanding complex human situations and abstract concepts. The uncanny decoder, when INFJs see through the mask everyone else believes. One of the most striking abilities that INFJs possess is their remarkable skill at reading people. Walk into any situation, and an INFJ will quickly develop an accurate sense of who people are, what they're feeling, and what they might do next. This isn't magic. It's a sophisticated visual and intuitive reading system that processes thousands of tiny details at once. When an INFJ looks at someone, they're visually absorbing information at multiple levels simultaneously. They notice the brightness or dimness in someone's eyes. They observe the tension or relaxation in facial muscles. They register the space someone takes up, how they move through it, and what that movement reveals about their confidence or anxiety. But beyond these observable details, INFJs are simultaneously running this information through their intuitive filter, which connects it to patterns they've seen before, emotional undertones they've picked up, and deeper truths about human nature. This combination creates what seems like an almost supernatural ability to know what someone is really thinking or feeling, even when that person is trying to hide it. An INFJ can sit across from someone at dinner and somehow know that the person's cheerful smile masks genuine sadness. They can listen to someone explain why they're making a certain choice and intuitively grasp that the stated reason isn't the real reason at all. This isn't guessing. It's visual pattern recognition operating at a level that most people never develop. The remarkable part is that INFJs often can't fully explain how they know what they know. They might say, "Something about it just didn't seem right," or "I could sense something was off." What they're actually experiencing is their visual intuitive system processing information so quickly and so comprehensively that it bypasses their conscious awareness. Their brain has already created a complete picture and reached a conclusion before they've consciously registered all the individual pieces. The ghost in the machine, detecting what exists between the words and actions. Perhaps one of the most underrated aspects of the INFJ visual mind is their ability to see what isn't there. This might sound contradictory, but it's actually one of their greatest strengths. INFJs excel at visualizing invisible realities, the subtext beneath conversations, the unspoken dynamics in relationships, the hidden patterns in systems, and the future possibilities that might emerge from current situations. When someone is talking to an INFJ, they might not realize it, but the INFJ is simultaneously seeing multiple layers of meaning. There's the literal content of what's being said. Beneath that, there's the emotional tone and what the emotions reveal. Beneath that, there's the deeper pattern of why this person tends to think or feel this way. And beneath all of that, there's the INFJ's intuitive sense of what's really going on and what it means in the bigger picture. This ability to visualize the invisible makes INFJs exceptional at spotting inconsistencies, contradictions, and things that don't add up. They might not always be able to point to exactly what's wrong, but they'll sense it and visualize what might actually be happening beneath the surface. This is why INFJs often make good counselors, therapists, and advisors. They can see people's deeper issues, motivations, and struggles even when those things are carefully hidden. The visual component is crucial here. INFJs aren't just thinking about these hidden patterns in abstract terms. They're actually creating internal visual representations of them. They might visualize a relationship as a series of connected threads, each one representing a different dynamic or pattern. They might see a person's journey as a visual path with certain obstacles, choices, and possible destinations. This visual representation helps them understand complex realities in ways that pure verbal or logical analysis often cannot. The emotional lens, where feeling and perception merge into one powerful system. There's a deep connection between how INFJs process emotions and how they process visual information. This connection is one of the keys to understanding their genius visual mind. INFJs feel emotions intensely, and this emotional depth becomes integrated with their visual processing in remarkable ways. When an INFJ experiences or observes emotion, they don't just register it as a feeling. They visualize it. They see it as color, movement, texture, or spatial relationships. If someone is going through grief, an INFJ might internally visualize that as heaviness, darkness, or something being drained away. If someone is experiencing joy, an INFJ might visualize it as brightness, expansion, or things coming together. These internal visualizations aren't conscious, deliberate acts. They happen automatically because of how the INFJ brain is wired. This fusion of emotion and visual perception gives INFJs several advantages. First, it allows them to deeply connect with other people's emotional states on a level that goes beyond simple empathy. They're not just understanding emotions intellectually. They're experiencing them visually and emotionally at the same time, which creates a profound form of connection. Second, it helps them navigate their own emotional lives more effectively. By translating emotions into visual forms, they can examine them, understand them, and work with them more consciously. Additionally, this emotional visual connection means that INFJs can often sense when something is emotionally off or doesn't feel right, even if they can't immediately identify why. Their visual system is processing emotional information constantly, and when that information doesn't align properly or creates a discord, the INFJ intuitively feels it and visualizes the inconsistency. This is another reason why they're so good at detecting deception or inauthenticity. Creativity and the INFJ visual imagination. One area where the INFJ visual mind truly shines is in creative expression. Whether it's writing, art, music, or problem-solving, INFJs tend to have remarkably vivid imaginations and the ability to create things that feel authentic, meaningful, and often surprising in their depth. This creativity flows directly from their visual intuitive system. INFJs are constantly seeing possibilities, imagining how things could be different, and visualizing potential futures. When they sit down to create something, they're not starting from scratch. They're tapping into a rich internal landscape of images, symbols, and connections that they've been building through their intuitive processing. A writer INFJ might have already seen their entire story or character arc before they begin writing. A visual artist INFJ might have deeply felt the emotional essence of what they want to create before they pick up a brush. The reason INFJ creative work often resonates so deeply with people is that it comes from this place of profound visual and emotional insight. They're not just creating something technically proficient. They're creating something that communicates a deeper truth about human experience, often in ways that viewers, readers, or listeners find oddly familiar or moving, even if they can't explain why. The INFJ has used their visual intuitive mind to access something genuine and meaningful, and that authenticity comes through in their creative output. The INFJ's ability to forecast and anticipate. Related to their visual processing is the remarkable INFJ ability to anticipate what might happen next. This isn't fortune-telling or psychic ability. It's their visual intuitive system analyzing patterns, current trajectories, and possible outcomes so quickly and automatically that it produces a sense of knowing about the future. An INFJ might look at a new relationship and somehow sense how it will probably develop over time. They might observe a situation at work and have an uncanny sense of how it will likely unfold. They might notice someone's behavior patterns and accurately predict what that person will do next. These aren't lucky guesses. They're the result of their minds visually processing patterns and running those patterns forward into possible futures. This forecasting ability is powered by the INFJ's visual modeling system. They're constantly building mental models of how systems work and how people function. When new information comes in, they integrate it into these models and immediately see how it shifts possible outcomes. It's like they're running multiple simulations simultaneously, each showing a different potential future based on different choices or developments. Their intuition then highlights which futures seem most likely based on the patterns they've recognized. Challenges of a visual intuitive mind. While the INFJ visual mind is undoubtedly powerful, it also comes with particular challenges that are important to acknowledge. Living inside a mind that constantly processes so much visual and intuitive information can be overwhelming and sometimes exhausting. INFJs often experience what might be called intuitive overload. They're processing so much information beneath the surface that they can become mentally tired even when they haven't been doing anything particularly demanding. Walking through a crowded room, for instance, can be exhausting not because of the activity itself, but because their minds are processing all the emotional and intuitive information from every person around them. Their visual system is working overtime, constantly building and refining impressions and picking up on subtle dynamics. Additionally, because INFJs process so much through visual intuition, they can sometimes struggle to explain their knowledge to others. Someone might ask them why they think something, and the INFJ might not have a clear, logical explanation. They simply visualized it and knew it to be true. This can make INFJs seem vague or hard to follow, even though their intuitive conclusions are often remarkably accurate. Another challenge is that INFJs can sometimes overinterpret things based on their visual intuitive processing. They might read too much into a glance, a tone of voice, or a small gesture because their system is designed to see deeper patterns. This can lead to assumptions that aren't always accurate, or to taking things more personally than they were meant. Cultivating and strengthening the INFJ visual mind. For INFJs interested in developing their visual intuitive abilities even further, there are several approaches that can be helpful. First, becoming more aware of how this system works is crucial. Many INFJs never consciously acknowledge that they're visualizing information or running intuitive models. Simply bringing awareness to this process can make it more powerful and more reliable. Meditation and mindfulness practices can be particularly beneficial for INFJs. These practices help quiet the constant stream of visual and intuitive processing, giving the mind space to rest while also helping INFJs become more conscious of their internal processes. Over time, this can lead to greater control over their intuitive system and more accurate use of their visual insights. Creative expression is another powerful way for INFJs to develop their visual mind. Whether through art, writing, music, or other forms of creativity, engaging in the act of translating their internal visual and intuitive experiences into external forms helps strengthen these abilities and also provides a healthy outlet for processing the constant stream of imagery and insight their minds produce. Additionally, INFJs can benefit from deliberately studying human psychology, systems thinking, and pattern recognition. By learning frameworks for understanding how people and systems work, INFJs can integrate this conscious knowledge with their intuitive visual processing, creating an even more powerful form of understanding. The intersection of intuition and visual thinking. The genius of the INFJ visual mind ultimately comes down to the seamless integration of their intuitive function with their visual processing capabilities. Most people have either intuitive strengths or visual strengths, but in INFJs, these two capabilities are deeply intertwined and mutually reinforcing. Their intuition creates the patterns and the deeper understanding, while their visual system translates this into mental imagery they can work with and refine. Conversely, the visual imagery they create helps their intuition dig even deeper and make more sophisticated connections. It's a feedback loop that creates something more powerful than either capability would be alone. This intersection explains why INFJs often say they see things or why they describe their knowledge in visual or spatial terms even when they're talking about abstract concepts. They're not being poetic or figurative. They're describing their actual experience of understanding. Their minds have genuinely converted information into visual form and have perceived it through that visual lens. Conclusion: the rare gift of the INFJ visual mind. The INFJ visual intuitive mind is indeed a form of genius, though not the kind that shows up on traditional IQ tests or in conventional measures of intelligence. It's a genius that emerges from a rare combination of deep intuitive processing, emotional depth, and the ability to translate complex abstract patterns into vivid internal imagery. It's a mind that sees layers of meaning, anticipates possibilities, detects inconsistencies, and connects dots in ways that often seem like magic to observers. Understanding this aspect of the INFJ personality is valuable not just for INFJs themselves, but for everyone who interacts with them. It explains why they seem to just know things, why they can read a room so accurately, why their creative work often feels deeply moving, and why they struggle with things that require simple linear thinking or that require them to explain their intuitive conclusions in step-by-step logic. For INFJs, recognizing and appreciating this capacity is crucial for self-acceptance and for making the most of their unique gifts. Rather than trying to think in the ways that come more naturally to other personality types, INFJs can lean into their visual intuitive strengths, develop them consciously, and use them to make genuine contributions to the people and the world around them. The visual mind that sees beneath the surface, that anticipates what others miss, and that creates meaning from complexity is not just a personality trait. It's a remarkable capability that, when understood and developed, can lead to extraordinary insight, wisdom, and creative impact.